Megaraptor Namunhuaiquii, the large thief that stalked Argentina in the Late Cretaceous, known for the unusually large claws on its hands. In fact, they almost identically resemble the claws you see on the feet of dromaeosaurs like the Utahraptor. In fact, it was originally thought to have been a giant dromaeosaur or dromaeosaur-like dinosaur, but it is neither. And today we are going to cover the history of its study, its fossils being discovered, and why it confused people, what we know about its paleobiology, and the world it lived in. Earth at the time may as well have been an alien planet in more than a few ways, as well as the description of the dinosaur itself and its place in pop culture several million years after it went extinct. We're going to cover all of that today. This is Megaraptor, the large thief of Argentina. Starting with how our knowledge of the animal was first uncovered for us, let's start with when the first fossils were unearthed and what paleontologists initially thought. This thing's hand would not want to be grabbed by that, was found in Argentina. And it was in either 1996 or 1997. I've seen both dates cited. And these claws led paleontologists to initially describe Megaraptor as a large dromaeosaur, a literal Megaraptor. The initial discovery of the animal was only a single claw. This sickle claw here that has an uncanny resemblance to the claws you see on the feet of dromaeosaurs, again like Utahraptor or Dakotaraptor. However, this theory was proven incorrect when additional fossils were unearthed and revealed that this was actually from the first finger on the hand and not from the foot. It wasn't the first time something like this has happened. When Baryonyx was first discovered, its claws led paleontologists to also think it was a dromaeosaur. The largest claw was roughly a foot long on its own, and from this it was theorized that the animal might have been up to 26 feet or 8 meters long, and that the dinosaur might have weighed as much as 2,200 pounds. Also, just to touch on it, the Megaraptor genus, which has only one species as of now, is only a subgroup of the Megaraptoria clade of dinosaurs. It falls under clade A of the group. Some of the other dinosaurs in the Megaraptoria clade include all of these you see on screen, such as Ionoraptor, Rapaptor, Australiovenator, and that utter nightmare of a name at the very end of the list. I don't even know how to pronounce that one. Again, though, this genus, Megaraptor, is only one in the clade. Not every dinosaur in the Megaraptoria clade has Megaraptor in the name. Now, as for that species genus, Megaraptor's teeth were also similar to those of Tyrannosaurids. They were chisel-like, potentially may have also had some serration on them. Recent study by paleontologists have sometimes placed Megaraptor as a basal tyrannosaurid. Let's actually talk about what the dinosaur looked like outside of just its claws and teeth. As I said, Megaraptor was up to 8 meters long, and it stood tall enough that if you were nose to snout with it, it'd be looking down at you, and probably thinking that you looked like a good snack. Its claws would certainly make good enough work on you that it would make an over-the-top slasher movie killer feel inadequate at their job. We'll talk more on the hunting capabilities of the animal and what it ate in a few minutes, but for now, let's focus on what the dinosaur actually looked like. Or at least, what we can estimate based on what our, unfortunately, very limited fossils can tell us. The dinosaur lived in wooded areas and plains across Argentina. Now, some depictions do feature it with feathers and some don't. And either seems to be both accepted or at least theorized as plausible. Basal tyrannosaurs did have feathers, and some of the larger and later ones, a topic I've addressed before, did as well, but not all of them. Megaraptor very likely could have had feathers, and it does seem like there is some fossil evidence to suggest that they did, which is not surprising. Based on the fossils we have found, the theropod dinosaur also had a very long tail, about as long as its body, and this was to balance out the weight of its front half. It also obviously had large claws on its hands, which, really do look just like the ones you'd see on a raptor's foot. And Megaraptor's name means large thief. And with those claws, yeah, that fits. It could also mean huge robber or large plunderer. All also fit. And with those claws, I could believe that this dinosaur would indeed be a plunderer of prehistoric Argentina. No, Spino, I do not. I don't want to be grabbed by this dinosaur and its Grim Reaper scythe claw hands. When alive, the animal would have had a material sheathed over its claws, and it would not be too unlike our fingernails today for a little reference. And it is also believed that this was a generally intelligent dinosaur. It had a lean frame and likely was very effective at hunting and fast, something that I will touch on more in the next section. Since we were touching on it, now let's talk about the paleobiology of the animal itself. The dinosaur was large. We have a good idea of how big they grew since we have juvenile specimens, which are much smaller than the near 30-foot long adults. A length that was calculated in 2010, by the way. However, one exceptionally large specimen was found in Argentina in 2022, 3 stories in length, between 30 and 35 feet. The chest cavity alone of this specimen was 4 feet wide. So either this was one particularly large individual, which can happen in any species, or they got bigger than we initially thought. Now, the paleobiology of the animal overall does seem to not be all that well studied or understood, but in some ways it was likely very similar to other large carnivorous theropods, perhaps like the smaller to medium-sized tyrannosaurids if it is part of that group, or whichever it falls under. Maybe it had similar biology and characteristics to those specific respective groups. One thing we do know, what did this dinosaur eat? Meat. It was a carnivore. Need I say more? Yes? Okay. Well, Megaraptor likely could or would have hunted most of the other dinosaurs it lived alongside of in Cretaceous era Argentina. I almost said crater era Argentina. Yeah, I'm gonna just leave that in. That's kind of funny. Now, some paleontologists also believe that it hunted in packs, and if so, that is terrifying and would only make this thing all the more vicious. Nature, you're scary. It was lightly built, meaning it was fast. So imagine having a pack of these things chasing you, slowly catching up, and then slashing into you, goring you, and ripping you open with their claws. Yeah, that is some scary stuff right there. Again, dinosaur slasher movie antagonist role right there. This thing makes any killer in our modern movies feel inadequate. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Jason. You weren't even the bad guy in your original movie. Now, aside from dinosaurs, it, especially juvenile ones, might not have been above snacking on some of the small Cretaceous mammals. In fact, I would say this probably was pretty likely. And adults likely ate orthanopods and maybe even young titanosaurs. Medium-sized animals were likely the most common group on the dinner plate as a whole. But if Megaraptor hunted in packs, then maybe they could even take down some of the larger ones, but probably not a fully grown titanosaur. They're called titanosaurs for a reason. Now, like most animals on Earth and throughout Earth's biological history, dinosaurs had the same blueprint and had all the same organs and features you'd expect and see on a lot of animals still today, with just some rare exceptions. You know, they had eyes, brain, lungs, stomach, teeth, all of those organs. However, the exact details on the paleobiology of Megaraptor don't seem to be more widely known. Unlike something like Tyrannosaur, where it's way more famous and we have way more specimens to study, there is not much research done on that specific aspect of this dinosaur, not only because it's not the most well known, but it is also the fact we don't have very many specimens, and none of them are complete. So for now, this section will unfortunately remain short. Maybe one day we will find a more intact specimen and we'll get some more answers, or at least some better ideas. For now, though, we have to work with what we've got. And what we've got is very little, but that sometimes tends to be paleontology in a nutshell. Sometimes you only get one bone, or even one fragment of a bone. At least with this one, we have more, so something at least to be grateful for. Megaraptor's hand confused people. It's almost like the Dinochirus situation all over again, just not quite to that extreme. Paleontologists didn't know what to do with it when they found out it was a hand. With the hands being so distinct from other theropods, they didn't know if it was an allosaurid, a spinosaurid, something from another known group, or even a representation of something new altogether. No! Further studies in the forelimb fossils, as well as a study from an identified close relative of the Megaraptor genus, helped paleontologists come to the conclusion that it could have been a highly advanced allosauride of some kind, or a new member to the family Neoventoriidae. Probably butchered that. My voice sometimes does to words what Megaraptor's claws did to dinosaurs. But anyway, more recent studies have also placed Megaraptor within the Tyrannosaurids or possibly the Spinosaurids instead of the Allosaur family. A juvenile Megaraptor that was discovered further supported the theory of Megaraptor being a primitive Tyrannosaur, and it's also thought it could have been a Neovenator relative. It goes back and forth. It's also sometimes put into a sister clade rather than being a Tyrannosaurid, and there does not seem to be a consensus either way yet, and perhaps won't ever be unless we find a more intact and complete specimen of the dinosaur. One can hope. There's a lot of paleontology topics out there that could really be resolved if we found a more intact specimen. You have no idea. It gives me a lot of headaches sometimes. For now, though, what we have evidence for suggests a few possibilities, but no consensus. And there's also some evidence to suggest it might belong to the allosaurs still, so we're left with a whole lot of I don't know. Tell me what you think on this one, though. I love reading your theories that you guys share in the comments, so I definitely want to know what you think of this one. Megaraptor lived from 93.5 to 88 to 85.8 million years ago, which would put it possibly in the Cenomanian age, but for sure the Turonian age of the Late Cretaceous, all the way to the Santonian age. In this section, I'm briefly going to address the climate of the world at the time and some of the other events going on in those ages and the ones between them too, and some of the dinosaurs that were around that time as well, just to give you an idea of what was going on Earth at the time. I'm going to keep these sections brief, so some repeat viewers have probably heard some of this before, but if you're interested in more on the Late Cretaceous and the climate, check out my video on the Chicxulub impactor and the end of the Cretaceous. I'll link it at the end. Alright, so starting with the earliest age, the Cenomanian age. The earliest age of the Late Cretaceous. It began roughly 100 million years ago and lasted until 93.9 million years ago. So a bit before we believe Megaraptor appeared, but if Megaraptor appeared a few 100,000 years sooner than we theorize it might have, then it could have potentially lived at the tail end of this age. And exactly when this age ended is also not set in stone either, so they very likely could have had a brief overlap. And since it's possible, we're going to include this age in the video as well. This age's end was marked with a minor cataclysm, an anoxic event known as the Cenomanian-Turonian boundary event, and it caused a minor extinction in various marine species. Not a big one, minor one, as minor as extinctions can be. The later years of this age also represented the highest sea levels seen in the previous 600 million 600 million is way more impressive. Years of geologic history. It was 600 million, guys. I misspoke. It's way more impressive than 600,000. Focus. Sea levels were roughly 150 meters above today's sea levels at this time. That's why there's a whole lot of ancient beaches in places far inland in some cases. And the Earth was covered in warm, shallow seas, and the early forms of today's continents were starting to take shape. For the first time, leading to the Earth starting to resemble the planet we see today and not look like some alien green and blue planet instead. Seriously, look up how it looked throughout prehistory if you don't know. You won't recognize your home and you'll think it's an alien planet. And essentially it was. Alien to us. In fact, the oxygen of the Late Cretaceous would have likely proven lethal given enough time if you were to just drop in. There weren't any real highlands known to exist in this time period either, in this specific age. So ocean waves were huge, and the constant wind caused quickened sediment deposition. Now, the next age Megaraptor lived through for sure was the Turonian age, and again, it began a little bit before we believe Megaraptor appeared by only a few 100,000 years, but it did for sure live in this age. And in this age, sea levels started to fall, and at the beginning of this age, we had new bivalve species appear in the fossil record. Also in this age, aside from Megaraptor, some of the other dinosaurs included the duck-billed dinosaurs. There were ankylosaurids and tyrannosaurids, but no T-Rex yet. And there were also titanosaurs, and this was the age where the birds began to take the skies from the pterosaurs. It is also the time that it is thought ichthyosaurs might have gone extinct. Next, the Conisian age. That is not how you say it. I cannot actually find how to pronounce this one. I'll keep finding our cheap AI pronunciations that just sound like robot gibberish, so I'm just going to call it the Coniation Age, and let me know if that's right in the comments or not. So, next, the Coniation Age, which lasted from 89.8, plus or minus 1 million years onto that, until 86.7-ish million years ago, and we have some more bivalves making their debuts in the fossil record in this age, and sea levels also continued to fall. And meanwhile, the Earth was still slowly taking on the shape we know it to have today. Most of the continents were moving into their current places in most cases, and another anoxic event occurred in the Atlantic Ocean during this age, and it lasted until the next age of the Cretaceous. Dinosaurs in this age, aside from our friend, the Megaraptor, and some of the familiar groups I mentioned before, were more or less the same, along with a new one known as the Big Anemic Lizard. Another name I don't know how to pronounce, so here it is on screen. On to the last age that Megaraptor lived in, the Santonian Age, which lasted from 83.6 million years ago, again, plus or minus 0.7 million years, and this was described all the way back in 1857, and the age itself was defined by, again, the appearance of a bivalve. Man, they sure were a popular fad in the late Cretaceous. I guess dinosaurs were old news by now. The top of this age was also defined by the extinction of another crinoid species, and by the end of this age, dinosaurs would still be around for a bit longer, but Megaraptor would not be one of them. The clade would hang on for a while yet, but Megaraptor, the genus, was gone. It left behind a legacy of fossilized bones that give us a bit of a headache, but probably not one as bad as my horrible pronunciation on some of these names. Now, to end off this section about the Paleoenvironment, I'm going to specifically mention some of the late Cretaceous dinosaurs that lived in Argentina around the time Megaraptor did. To mention ones it specifically could have encountered or ate in life, or even competed with, or just straight up ignored. I don't know. I'll also give Giganotosaurus an honorable mention at the start here, because while we believe it was gone by about 2 million years before Megaraptor appeared, it is always possible that if the Giga hung out just a little bit longer, or if the Mega appeared just a bit sooner, they might have overlapped, even if it was only for just a briefest of moments, but there is no evidence, and that's just a crazy idea by a dino-crazy YouTuber. Argentinosaurus is perhaps the most famous of Argentina's dinosaurs, but it is in the same boat as the Giga, but it is more possible that these two might have some overlap. Only around 1 million or so years separate Argentinosaurus and the Megaraptor genus. Tarvovenator is a theropod from Argentina that Megaraptor likely competed with for food for part of its existence. The apparently appropriately named kaiju titan Titanosaur also likely existed at the same time that Megaraptor did for part of the genus's existence. Meraxes was also another large theropod that might have competed with Megaraptor. And Achillosaurus is another one that might have briefly overlapped with Megaraptor's existence and perhaps could have fallen prey to it. A bit more of a niche topic to end off here, since this isn't the most widely known or covered dinosaur, but one worth talking about. How much of a place in our culture does this dinosaur have today? Well, first off, the artist who drew the art you see on screen now absolutely loves this dinosaur. She's a friend who has done art for my videos before, and I wanted to talk about this dinosaur as a thank you to her. But aside from being, I'm pretty sure, many people's favorite dinosaur, how often does it appear in movies or books? Well, it appeared in one of mine, actually, a dinosaur horror novella, and it apparently appeared in the 2008 movie Warbirds. That one does not seem to be well liked, though, and it doesn't seem like Megaraptor has gotten any major film appearances to date, though. It has also appeared in some documentaries, and, but paleo YouTubers generally seem the ones who give this more obscure theropod attention and awareness than most of the bigger documentaries do. The dinosaur has also made an appearance in Dinosaur Train, which is pretty cool, actually. Its name was Marco. It appeared in a web series called Dino Defenders, and it also appeared in the game Dinosaur King, so it does have some notable appearances in pop culture. It also got an appearance in the Big Dinosaur franchise. It appeared in Jurassic Park, Warpath, but not again in the rest of the franchise to date, outside of Jurassic World Evolution 2 and maybe some of the mobile games. Who knows? Maybe this dinosaur will make an appearance in Jurassic Park 7 if it still gets new JP merch dedicated to it, so we'll see. And maybe it'll even appear in Chaos Theory. If Primeval were to ever get a reboot, it'd be cool to see this animal in a show like that. And it'd be cool to see this dinosaur get an overdue spotlight shined on it and shown off to the masses. It has the potential to be a terrifying and also awe-inspiring dinosaur if it was to be given the proper treatment and spotlight. Maybe a future dinosaur movie or other project will finally do so. So that was Megaraptor, and a general introduction to this woefully obscure dinosaur. I think it's fascinating, and I hope you agree. It is a fascinating animal. The history of it being found and studied was also fascinating, and so was the near alien world it called home. I hope you enjoyed the video, and again, sorry if my voice was a little off sounding. I have a bit of a scratchy throat today, and I also am exhausted, but I'm very excited to have been here again. I always love making these videos. It's honestly one of the highlights of my week. So tell me what you think about Megaraptor, and tell me paleo topics you want to see covered in the future. I have several planned to be released throughout the next weeks to months, from dinosaurs to Permian and Cenozoic animals. So if you find any that are interesting to you, please tell me in a comment, and then like and subscribe so that I know you'd like to see some of those topics and you want to see more videos like this one. And it also helps me grow. And again, please suggest animals or other paleo topics you want to see covered in the future. And I love that I get to make these videos. I just want to say that. I love that I get to research all these cool topics and learn this cool stuff that I might not otherwise have had the chance to, and then I get to share it with all of you. And even though I'm not at the top of my game today, it is a joy. And I love that I get to do this, and I get to share all of this incredible information with you about so many amazing topics. So I just wanted to say that, and how much I appreciate all of you who do watch these videos. And it's also a chance for me to just talk about all of this fascinating knowledge and lore and everything that is just incredible to learn about. And in this age of constant communication, misinformation is only getting more widespread than ever. I have very little patience for it because it's just sad to see, even with all the knowledge we could ever want, only a search away, somehow misinformation seems to just be more prevalent than ever in the world, leading people to false understandings, sometimes even dangerous ones. We all must make an equal effort to get the truth out, or misinfo will cause this new age of wonderful connectivity and all the collective knowledge humanity has ever assembled, gathered together, to choke us into a new dark age of ignorance. And I would rather be grabbed by a Megaraptor, giant claws and all, than see that happen. That said, I hope you enjoyed, and have a good one, everyone. I promise I don't get so fired up in all of my videos. Thank you for watching, and have a great week.